watch was.
Watch Wars. I love doing that voice, but then you probably gathered that by now. Today's Watch War is one that has been long coming ever since I found out that Tudor was releasing a 39mm Pelagos. And despite my absolute love and adoration of the left-hand drive, I knew the 39mm would be eminent. I tried it on a bunch of times, tried it on in LA, tried it on somewhere else. I don't know, maybe it was just in LA. Point being, it fit me like a glove immediately and was absolutely delicious. Loved it off the bat. Right now we're looking at a pair of books. You know I love my books. But this one over here, the Tudor Anthology by our channel friend Alberta Isnardi. Absolute authority on Tudor watches. Now this book would not have helped a hunt for either of these because these are too modern. But every other Tudor watch I've ever hunted, I've used this book to do so. This book has saved my behind and my wallet at least 6 times, so check it out. We do get a discount on it, so hit me up if you want to connect with Alberto, and I'll point the two of you together to work on that discount and get you a book shipped out. He's got this book, he's got some other Omega books, some Rolex stuff. Just a wonderful and very friendly gentleman, author, and horological steward. Super fine guy. So what are we looking at today? You know what, let's clear the deck here and get up in the business of these two Tudors, shall we? Watch Wars, up in your business style. Let's put some numbers up on the board, shall we? Now at first glance, obviously we've got a significant size differential going here, don't we? And yeah, well, the left-hand drive is an amazingly great watch. It is certainly the most attractive of all the Pelagos line before this little baby came out, which is why I got it, albeit pre-owned for roughly half the price of this, which is kind of a strange thing we're going to ignore for the Watch War because I got it at a super great steal of a deal. Jumping right in, 42 millis, pretty standard. Oh, helium escape valve there, none there. Pretty standard size for most watches these days, you know, dive watches and so forth. But the 39, you see me coming up the street, the 39 just fits me better. I can pull this off. We'll see it on wrist, on my 6.5 inch wrist in a moment. But you're going to see pretty demonstrably that I wear this one better. And the thickness, let's get up in there. I should say thinness. This is a thin one. This is a big one. It's a big chunk. It's well, 500 meters water resistance. What are you going to do? And versus 200, although 200 is pretty sufficient for most everyone. The lug to lug, not horrible. Just 3 millimeters of variance there. That thickness, gosh, it's a mile. They both have the 70-hour power reserve, but one of them has an UGG width, and you know which one I'm talking about. 2 to 39, I'm talking about you. There is no need for 21 millis. 22 is sufficient here. There's no reason why this shouldn't have been 20 millimeters. I'm like, what is Tudor thinking? I mean, seriously, brah. Come on, brah. All right, the nitty gritty. The nitty gritty. Should I put it? You know, let's put them on wrist first before we get to the nitty gritty, shall we? Left-hand drive on wrist. Chunky monkey. I can't say heavy Chevy because it's titanium. It's still super light, but a bit of a chunky monkey. Wears just as about the same chunk factor on a strap. This bracelet is pretty amazing. You can't go wrong with titanium in my book. Love that gunmetal gray sort. And this is a beautiful watch. If you got 7-inch wrists and larger, by all means, go with the left-hand drive. It's fabulous. You'll wear it fine. I'm just feeling a little wrist conscious at 6.5. Come on, let me show that. Yeah, chunky monkey. All right, let's try this little baby brother now, shall we? Yeah, that's what I call Tudor perfection. This is probably the best dive watch Tudor has made. There are some shortcomings. We'll get to them in a minute. But if I had to pick one Tudor dive watch to own, operate for my wrist size, how can I go wrong with this? Thinness profile, lightness of titanium, 200 meters, amazingly great loom. Maybe I'll insert a loom shot towards the end. Pretty freaking gorgeous, man. Pretty gorgeous. Now, the one nice thing about this expanding clasp, it fits on my wrist for my Goonie Goo Goo Castro shot, and I can still close them both up. And because this has the crown over here, it is particularly well suited for this side-by-side comparison on wrist. You know, I could probably pull this off because of the opposing crowns. You know, maybe I'll just keep both of them and rock it like this. Let us begin the war part of the watch war, shall we? The lume on this one is better, and what I mean the faux lume, that slightly yellow cream patina versus the stark white, it's just better. I don't mind faux lume. I don't like it or dislike it, but for some reason on this rendering, and certainly side by side, I like it better. And I definitely like the handling of the markers on the left-hand drive better, the way they're kind of notched out with not quite a rehot, but a kind of a raised notching on the dial itself. Love it. And this one has a date wheel. The roulette date wheel is pretty freaking gorgeous. No date over here, which is okay, time only. Although this is going to put it into competition with the Explorer, certainly. This is a great watch. I would have loved it more. I would have loved this more if they did the notching for the indices. I can understand getting away from the faux lume, but if it did the notching on the indices, no reason not to. You got plenty of dial space. I would love it even more than I already do. Now we're going to go turbo upside down. We're going to the upside down, and we're going to see something really funny because this watch is bemoaned for a couple reasons. Obviously, 21mm lugs, unnecessary, but also it's got a Gigunda clasp. A clasp that is way too big than it needs to. But comedy ensues. It is the exact same size as the one on the left-hand drive in terms of its overall length, which I didn't know until I began prepping for this video, and I put them side by side because I was planning on bashing it. But I can't bash it. Now, the funny thing is about the left-hand drive, this clasp is not titanium. It is steel. And I don't know why they did that other than maybe cost or the fact that this has the ability to spring extend, which is pretty neat. This one has more of a glide lock type extension, but if we look at the hinge, this one wins on the hinge. It's so much, I just find it classier, a little more tasteful, and I can get my fingernail up under that little shield a little easier than over here. Not a great big deal, but pretty cool. And this is titanium, so let's look at this adjustment system. Oh, bam. So getting up under there, you know, you just put your thumb as leverage here and you move it out, move it back. So if you have that pasta, too much pasta at lunch, you have to manually adjust this to account for wrist weight. Putting on water weight at lunch. Whereas this one will naturally expand, which sounds great and clever, but I don't like it as much. The reason is I like to wear mine jingle jangly. And if I have to adjust my watch, because your weight and your wrist size does change throughout the day, usually gets larger by the end of the day, it's going to be pulling snug. Now, it's doing its job. It's expanding, but I don't like my bracelets snug. I like the expansion over here. So whereas the overall clasp design is winner to the 39, the little retaining clip thing here is also over here on the 39. Though this is going on, what, 3 or 4 years old now? This is very clever. Some really clever design. I'm truly surprised it wasn't done in titanium, though. And the only challenge there is twofold. The wear and the patina of the clasp will change over time differently than the titanium of the rest of the watch. You don't ever want to polish this. When this leaves the factory, it looks like the rest of the watch. But if you take cod cloth to this, you're going to strip that sheen away, and it's going to be a muy muy no bueno. Excellent movements, the both of them. These are just two very different watches based on size. So depending on your wrist size, let that be your guide. Now, a lot of people in the 6.5 to 7.5 range can probably pull this off pretty well, unless they're feeling a little bit of wrist shy. I don't know why the marketing for this watch includes men and women in the ad. Maybe they're just trying to be gender neutral on it. The reality is, this is a dude watch. Unless you're super duper sporty spice or a ninja babe, I don't know that this is the watch for you, baby girl. You can certainly pull it off. I think it's super cool. I mean, unless you're, you know, like an MMA girl, unless you're Gina Carano or equivalent, I don't know that this is the watch for you. I don't know that it has a lot of... This is a tool watch. There's not a lot of femininity in this. I was surprised by that. This is a man's watch. This watch is for a man who's more man than me. Certainly by wrist size, proportions, and whatever. But gosh, am I going to sell it? That's the question. I don't know. These are serialized, and my hope, which is not standard for Tudor, my hope is they were going to cancel it, and then the price would go up, and then I would flip it, and whatever I made on it would offset the cost of this, which is still the goal, because this is what we call a redundancy, certainly. And this watch, gosh, I'm giving away the watch war. This is the war winner for me. This is my Tudor diver. Now that statement obviously leaves the fate of the FXD up in the air. I like that watch for different reasons, and it's more on par and a contender for this one than this. This is the perfect Tudor dive watch. It is the best watch they have ever made in the dive category, in my opinion. Black Bay, whatever, notwithstanding. As far as I'm concerned, this is our watch war winner. Smash this party up.